Telling you, man, we talk about this all the time. It's got to be story first. Hey, guys, welcome back to the podcast. Damian Gray here. I'm excited for today's episode because it is truthfully me. It's something that I've gone through a good bit, and I want to expose it and put it out there. We're talking about what hinders a videographer from growth and how do we defeat it. Everything that we're talking about today is going to be something that I have personally gone through and go through at times, and also the solutions that I've built for those things, right? So there's no questioning here. This is my story. These are things that we've gone through. These are things that I continue to work on, and I really hope this helps. This is not me trying to toot my own horn and saying, hey, I figured life out, because there's still plenty of struggle to go around. But being able to kind of have these things down and to a point where we have solutions built in for it, and now I don't fall into the same trap again. That's what I want for you. That's it. So if anything, I hope this encourages, I hope this gives you some steps to take, and we can move forward with it. All right. Number one, what hinders a videographer from growth? Imposter syndrome. That is definitely something that in my research online and throughout my career, I've heard many people talk about the imposter syndrome. Like, oh man, I don't feel like I can do it. I don't feel like I am myself doing this. Like I'm an imposter. Like I shouldn't be here. What's interesting is as I do my research and as I hear about this conversation of imposter syndrome, I think we all have an initial understanding of what imposter syndrome is. But I think I have some interesting points that I think it's imperative to kind of get clear on, right? So in my research in this, I had an opportunity to listen to a good bit of podcasts. One that I listen to a lot is actually Jasmine Starr's podcast. If you haven't, highly recommend checking it out. She's very great in listing out frameworks and giving business owners an opportunity to take tangible steps in growing their going to market strategies and in growing and scaling their business. So highly recommend that, even if you're not a 6-figure, 7-figure business. I mean, so much insight there. She's great, right? So in her podcast, she has a little talk about this, and she interviewed high-end founders, right? And a lot of them shared that imposter syndrome doesn't exactly look like comparison, right? Like, oh man, I'm not like this person, or I'm not like that person, right? But it more so looks like what I'm doing is normal. Like you're not saying anything special. You snuck in through the back door, as she said. You're unoriginal. And that's interesting, because that is, I believe, how I felt in times. Like there's so many people saying these same things, or so many people that have gone through similar things, and they've shared it, and I've watched it, and I've been encouraged by it, right? And I'm like, man, that's great. I have felt like that. I've definitely felt like that, right? But the main difference is you are you and they are them. So the people that you hit, the people that you attract, the people that will watch your content is watching it because they want to see how you have gone through that struggle. They want to see how you have been able to persevere through those things. And you hit a completely different audience most of the times than the audience that have seen that content. So you have a place in the world of whatever it is that you're pursuing. Your voice can actually help and actually can be a great witness to what somebody else is going through, even if it is something that you've heard online before. Just like, I mean, truthfully, you hear the phrase, nothing has been reinvented when it comes to music, right? It's a lot of those things have been invented before. A lot of the music notes and the patterns, and not going too far down the loop, but those things have been created before, and somebody just decided to add to it. They decided to make a change, but it's their perspective of that, right? It's their understanding of that. And so that's what I felt in imposter syndrome, is like, man, people have heard this before. I'm not original. I don't have a perspective, anything different from what other people have shared. And one of the things that she shared is kind of what I've kind of started doing a while back. Is she said that her solution, right? You use that desire, when you recognize, man, I there's a fear of I'm going to be unoriginal, or I'm going to be, you know, already heard, right? Losing my train of thought. There's like different thoughts going on. I really want to get this across, but it's really cool, right? So you use it as a symbol. What do I need to do to get the data that I need in order to make the confident decision, right? So we're not aiming from the hip anymore, right? I have imposter syndrome about this podcast episode that I'm going to put out, right? Okay, what information do I need to know in order to be able to walk confidently in this decision to do this episode, right? What information do I need to research? What do I need to find out? Who do I need to speak with? What kind of questions should I ask them, right? And become educated on those things, and gathering that information. So when you're sharing this stuff, you're not just, I think this will work. Say, no, this is what I actually discovered, right? This is what I actually found out. And so we're not guessing anymore. And a lot of the times the imposter syndrome is just because we're firing from the hip. We don't know what's happening. We don't know why. We don't know where. We're just kind of going for it, right? That that has its place in conversation. But when we're talking about growing your brand for your business, or growing your personal brand for yourself that serves as a mediator to your business, we want to be able to research. We want to be able to have that that desire to want to get those questions answered. Why? Because we know that people are going to have those same questions. People are going to have the same questions. Man, how do I get, you know, how many podcast episodes there are on imposter syndrome? And what's interesting is every episode I watch, there's always a different perspective to how people are handling it. Right. And so for me, with the ones I've seen, this one and some more information that I'll hit below that I'm going to share like later on into the episode, these people have gone through and figured out their way of handling that situation. And so imposter syndrome, figuring that out, the solution, using it as a symbol anytime I feel that, to say, okay, I'm feeling this. What do I need to do in order to get the data that I need to get in order to make a confident decision, right? What do I need to know or learn in order to be less intimidated by that, right? As I practiced that, anytime I felt that imposter syndrome regarding whatever I'm looking for, the desire went away. The imposter syndrome kind of dissipated because I'm not pretending to be someone else. I'm literally researching the issues or the concerns that I have, so that I know how to come as a student to that problem and say, this is what I found. This is the solution that I found. This is the research that I found. What do you think? And be able to speak with the people that have gone through it, right? That's how we cure and get rid of the imposter syndrome. It kind of forces us to move our fears out of the way and say, okay, that's cool. I'm afraid, right? But here's the actual problem. Like, here's what I'm actually trying to figure out. Do you have insight? Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that. Interesting. And after you gather enough information, you're able to share these things. You're able to share with other people what you've come across, right? So, imposter syndrome, right? Number 2, scrolling addiction. Now, I consider myself a social media guy, right? I wouldn't say that I'm crazy on social media. Like, I don't even remember the last time I truly like posted on Facebook. Definitely more on the consumer side, but keeping up with a lot of the social media things, man. Even owning a business, it's the desire to want to post continuously is not, and consume continuously is not huge on my like radar, right? But there are times where I find myself, I'm just scrolling. And it's true. It just is. And so for me, I wanted to try to figure out what's a way, because part of my work is literally scrolling, right? It's going through social media, making connections, looking up what people are working on, trying to see what's happening, right? That's a part of staying in the know regarding mine and probably a lot of people's work, right? So how do we control that? The amount of time we put into it, the things that we look at, right? The like, how do we put guardrails on it, right? So we're not wasting time because we know we have a lot of things we have to do in a day, right? So I kind of looked into a few different resources. One of the things that I found that was the easiest option that I implemented right after I discovered it was an app that's called No Scroll, No Scroll, Scroll, right? It's an app. It sets a time limit on your selected social media app, or really any app that you'd like on your phone. And for me, easy to download, easy app. There's not much to it. You're able to go into the app after you download it onto your phone, and you can select which social media platforms you would like to, put a certain time limit on it. And so for me, Instagram, Facebook, um, TikTok, whatever it is, and you get to put, okay, how long would you like to be on it for the day? And it'll say, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. And you select what you'd like to do. And so you select it. And then once it's selected, you go about your business. When you open your app, it'll when you open the app, it'll say, how long would you like to be on this for? And I think it's for the day. And you select a time, say 30 minutes or an hour, whatever. Boom, press that. Now you go about your social media as usual. When that time limit is up, it'll literally gray out the app on your phone and you won't be able to get into it, right? And of course, if you need to or you'd like to, you can remove it if you want to. But for me, I liked that even just that, I recognized that I was dropping my social media viewing in a day just because I don't know, it just made it very simple to just say, what, I guess I'm done for the day or I'm done for this time. And then I just continued about my business. And I enjoyed that because it wasn't just like I've reached my time limit. It's okay. Now I've recognized that I've been on this for already an hour in my day. No, like that's good. If there's stuff I need to do social media wise, what I like to do is I'll use it on my computer. So I'll go to Facebook on my computer or Instagram or whatever because it's a little bit harder to like scroll and scroll and scroll. Like I'll just go to Instagram on my computer, check it out. Okay, cool. And then just like a tab, close out the tab and be done if I need to. But just having something as simple as that, man, it was really cool how I recognized when it turned gray, just like, wow, okay, I've been on it. Yeah. So we're done with that. Okay. So I enjoyed that. Yeah. The other thing I did with scrolling addiction, another solution that I've came across is that I still need to do. I had one a lot back when we lived in Georgia, but get a bike. Yeah, just get a bike. So like when you're working, and you're scrolling and you should be working or you should be on a break or whatever it is, just hop on your bike, take a little stroll and come back. And then, take your break or get some food or continue working, whatever it is. I find that almost therapeutic. I don't know if maybe I just have a thing with bikes, but I just find it kind of therapeutic where you just, do a little lap around the neighborhood, see what's outside. It's fall now, so it's great outside. Just being able to have that as an option. It's quick. It's not, you have to like do a lot. You recognize you're scrolling a lot. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna take a little ride. Pop some music in, or listen to a podcast. Just don't listen to nothing. Like just walk, just ride around, And if the bike's not something for you, then I maybe even just step outside and go on your porch. We're talking very simple things, right? I'm not, disclaimer, I am not a psychiatrist or doctor that can give you anything or any actual like advice to say, oh, you should do this 3 times a day. I can't, but I'm just telling you what has worked for me, right? So that's scrolling addiction. I have the No Scroll app. Sometimes if I can, I'll get a bike, do a quick lap, come back, keep it going. Stimulates the mind, going from there. And that's just what I've found to help. There are many other options regarding scrolling and how to, there's so many, I found so many apps doing that. So you could find what works best for you. I know it's tough in a world like this where things are just continuing to come up online. But I promise you, having a little bit of a guardrail to say, we've done this enough for today. Now we're going to go on to our next thing. Man, big help. Absolutely. Okay. 3, isolation. Now, this is interesting because as a small business owner, when you're grassrooting everything, you're kind of starting from the beginning. It's you. You're trying to figure it out. You're trying to build this process. You're trying to develop the contacts. You're trying to develop the clientele. You're trying to build a marketing plan that you can afford. You're trying to make these connections happen. And truthfully, it gets a little lonely trying to figure that out. And it's not it's not ideal, right? To do all those things alone, especially if you're a kind of person that gets a lot of thoughts in your head. You don't have any way to get it out as a soundboard. You're kind of going for it, right? And that's tough. And so what I've had to do, and I kind of need to brush up on this, is I have to make things strategic, right? Like I have to explore and get help and make it strategic. Like I have to make it a part of growing my business. So is creating video content online for your business a pain point? Does it take forever? You can't really tell if you're progressing. Are you beginning to feel the bottleneck? Well, if this is you, number 1, know that you are not alone. Number 2, what if I told you there was a templated way to streamline your video creation process without losing authenticity or quality of content, and being able to connect with your audience and grow your following online without getting lost in social media? I've spent the last 12 years helping businesses, small and large, with this very same thing, and now I want to bring it to you with Video Blueprint, our in-person workshop right here in Cincinnati. We're talking immediate implementation, streamlined content creation, and everything targeted to your audience. Creating video content online does not have to be elusive nor unauthentic. So click the link below, let's remove the guesswork, and sign up for our in-person video workshop. I'll see you there. Like part of my business plan for my business, right? I have to reach out. I have to extend, like I have my understanding, and I have to extend a hand out to get that understanding and knowledge that's past me, that could help me and grow my business. And I have to implement that, because if I'm stuck in my head the entire time, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be encouraging, right? So I try to give myself a quota, right? So every month, I'm going to visit 2 networking events this month. And when I go to these events, I want to meet 3 people that can help answer 3 questions. That's it, right? I'm not trying to meet everybody. I'm not trying to shake everybody's hand and get invites to every single networking event. That'll get that much more discouraging, right? I have 3 questions. I want to see if I can talk to 3 people that can help me answer these 3 questions regarding my business growth, right? And that's it. And that's 2 networking events for the month, right? I can join a virtual work study group. Like online, they have these virtual groups via Zoom or whatever it is, where everyone is kind of working and doing their thing, but you're in a Zoom thing together and kind of talk about what you're working on, and you got to just kind of have a group there that's there. Sometimes they even offer like soundboarding. It's kind of like a mini masterclass where you kind of have opportunity to share what you're working on, get some insight from people that have been doing it for a while, et cetera, et cetera. And again, it's just a way to break that wall, to extend a little bit, to get past the isolation and to get that conversation going. The interesting thing about this is you, how do I explain? This won't go away when you have $1 million in your bank account from your business, right? Or 2 million, whatever it is, right? You have to add the growth of your business has to grow in a way where it's who you are. Like it edifies and helps you grow. It's not a burn everything, make $1 million, and then all of a sudden things click. The growth has to be organic to you, meaning it's with you. It grows how you're able to grow the best way possible, right? As the owner of the business, that has to be there, right? So figure out what that is for you. The networking events, creating a podcast where you get to speak with people who are professionals in their area and you can get advice from them, kind of like something we've done here many times. Grab a work buddy to be a soundboard, whatever that looks like. Isolation does not have to be a part of your workflow. Now, it is one thing to be able to be comfortable with being in, I'll say silence, but being by yourself working. Absolutely. If that's something that's difficult, then, there are other ways to get help with that. But for the most part, with growing your business, just having those options where you have the work study group online, or you have a person that's a soundboard, or you're creating a podcast so you can speak with people, or, whatever that is, find out what that is for yourself. You got to understand this helps with the fuel that'll make your desires come into fruition. Like, this is the fuel that helps it, right? You will be encouraged by those around you. So definitely look forward to having that, right? I hope this is helping. Excuse me. Excuse me. I hope this is helping. This is encouraging me just sharing this, because it's like, man, as I was going through my thoughts here, I'm like, man, we've gone through a good bit of this. As I'm sharing this, I'm remembering times where I felt that isolation. Even now, sometimes you feel that isolation, but to be able to take steps forward in that, man, very helpful, right? Last one. What hinders a videographer, excuse me, what hinders a videographer from growth and how to defeat it? The distance between time and result, meaning the distance between the time it takes when you're starting something to actually seeing the result, right? I think that's, man, you got to understand this. We're at our 11th year in business now, right? And I, just like everyone else, I look online and I see people that have been doing this for 4 years, right? 4 years, 5 years, and I'm like, man, they're easily killing it, amazing filming locations, crushing 6 figures, 7 figures, whatever it is. And I'm like, man, and here I'm in my 11th year, and it's not like the difference in profit or whatever is that much. It's just what I'm seeing online. It's like, man, these guys have been able to kill it in half the time that I have been able to, right? And it's like, man, that there's almost this sense of entitlement. Ooh, how about that? Entitlement that comes to mind when you're like, man, I've put in so much time trying to make this happen. Why, right? Why is this happening like this, right? And so one of the things I had to recognize was what I'm doing there is I'm defining success based on what I'm seeing online, meaning I'm seeing they're at these amazing locations, or they have these really great projects, whatever. And I'm saying that's success. And I'm not fully doing that as much as they are. So I'm not being successful, right? So the question we need to first ask ourselves is, what defines success for you, right? You define the standard of success, right? And for this exercise, right, since we're talking about what hinders a videographer, I encourage for this, make it tangible, right? And like, make it tangible so that way you can, starting out, you can have some steps in pursuing this, right? For example, I want to have 8 workshops in 2025, where each workshop nets 3K, right? The tangibility of these goals removes the vagueness, right? Okay, so if I want that, how do I actually go about doing that? How do I actually go about pricing it? How do I actually create the marketing online that helps with that, right? So it removes my FOMO because I'm not seeing all this online. It removes my imposter syndrome because I'm setting the goal and I'm asking the questions, how do I do this, so I can get them answered, right? The And now that distance that we have between when we start and the result, now I actually have pieces that builds the bridge to get me from here to there, right? And now if I have to do that again, let's say 2026, now I say, okay, this is what we did last year and we got 80% of the way there. Now I know how to do that. What do I need to do to get to that final 100%, right? So now being able to fix that gap between when you start and the result, it takes time. It takes time. It takes being able to create that plan of what the success is and how to take those steps, but it also takes creating that system of all the things that we talked about, making sure we're not isolating ourselves, right? Making sure we're not getting addicted to the scrolling that we're doing online. Make sure we're not feeling the imposter syndrome as we're going through this process, right? So all these solutions go hand in hand. You kind of can't have one without the other as you're moving towards what you are defining as success, which is why this is the last one, right? Being able to define that success for you. Awesome. So, solution recap. Imposter syndrome. Well, actually, what hinders a videographer and how do we grow and scale from it? Imposter syndrome. How to beat it? Um, Purposefully putting yourself in a position. Actually, I'll share this. Imposter syndrome. How do we beat it? One of the things I've recognized in doing this, and of course we talked earlier about being able to use it as a symbol to ask yourself the questions that you can become confident in to get your answers so that you don't have the imposter syndrome. I'll put it in even better layman's terms. Fully removing imposter syndrome is about purposefully putting myself in a position to help my younger self, right? Because we're getting those questions answered, right, that we're looking for. And once we go through that process, we get those questions answered. So now I'm learning and now I've taught myself this thing. So imagine 5 years down the line, we've gone so far past that. Now I can say, oh, you're trying to figure this out for this 2025 year, trying to build a workshop. Let me show you what I did, right? You purposefully position yourself in the perspective and in the mindset and in the process of helping your younger self. Jenna Kutcher's podcast, Gold Digger. Jenna Kutcher, online marketing expert, podcaster, educator. She had Rory Vaden on her podcast at one point. New York Times bestseller, Hall of Fame speaker, an amazing guy. He said on her podcast, "You are always most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. It's not about the following. It's not about the virality, but building a personal brand is not about you. It's about being in service of the people you can help." So again, that perspective shift when it comes to a lot of times imposter syndrome, what's the thought? Me, right? I feel this way. I feel that way. I don't think this way. I don't think that way. What we're saying is, okay, that's cool. That's over there, right? What do I actually need to find out in order to grow in this? In order to do this workshop idea for next year, what do I actually need to pursue? How do I actually build the attraction, the attention to it? How do I actually net an actual profit from it? What are the things that I actually need to put in place in order to have a great workshop? What makes a great workshop, right? Working through those questions, getting insight from people, researching what people have done. Now I can say, oh, you know what? This is what I found. Now imposter syndrome is no longer a thing. This is what we're pursuing, right? Same thing with marketing. This is what we're pursuing. And then you have permission to go back and say, okay, this is what we're pursuing. Okay, great. So because of that, here's what we're going to do, right? Imposter syndrome is now gone, right? So solution recap for imposter syndrome, how to beat it. Purposefully put yourself in a position to help your younger self. Ask those questions. Figure out the questions that you need to answer in order to make confident decisions, right? Pursue those things. Scrolling. What's the solution for that? The addiction, scrolling, right? I say get the no scroll app, and then I also say get a bike. If not that, get a go out to your porch, whatever that looks like. But I'll say no scroll app for sure. Is an easy start for that. Isolation solution for that. Strategically reach for help through virtual workshop study groups, masterminds, grab a work buddy, go to a networking event, maybe 2 per month with a tangible desire for getting help. Make it tangible. 2 or 3 questions, 2 or 3 people. That's it. Right. We're not trying to go everywhere. We're starting out 2 to 3 questions, 2 to 3 people. Dive deep instead of wide. Go for it, right? How to beat the distance between when you start and when you see results, right? Tangibly define what success is for you and use that to create your steps between the time when you begin and the result. This way, you're not looking at air as you try to take steps forward, but your process has actual steps to take. Boom. Man, there you go. I hope it helps. I know it was a little bit like I'm getting my own thoughts through it and kind of getting encouraged and inspired as I go through it myself. I hope this helps, man. I hope this gives some insight. As always, if you can, let me know your thoughts. If this sparked any thoughts in your brain, some things that you've gone through or questions that you have, let me know. Shoot us a message on Instagram. Shoot us a message on the Apple Podcast, whatever it is. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And if you can, let me know how these episodes have been treating you. Let me know how you enjoy them. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to ask or ask questions about. And I'd love to hear more from you. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. Bye.